Guys, it's me, Andrea Renee, here with She Cooked It. Today we're going to be doing a real quick tutorial on my crab cakes. So I'm going to show you all of the ingredients when I get ready to prepare them, but first we're going to start off, because I've already prepared some there in the refrigerator, so I want to start off with putting those in the oven. And while those are baking, I'm going to show you how to prepare them. So these have been in the refrigerator approximately, I don't know, like 2 hours maybe? Yeah, about 2 hours. And of course I wrapped them in some saran wrap. So this is kind of what it looks like. You can see the lumps kind of still in it from the lump crab meat. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get our baking sheet and we'll put it on. I'm gonna put some wax paper on it first. And then I'll put a little non-stick spray, and then we're gonna form our crab cakes and put them in the oven for about 12 to 14 minutes on 375. So with these crab cakes, I use a, instead of using a regular breadcrumb, an Italian breadcrumb, I use Panko, which is a Japanese breadcrumb. It's a little bit more coarse, but it complements the texture of the crab cake. So you just want to take it and just kind of form it into a little bit of a patty. And then you put it on your baking sheet. And you don't want to handle it too much because you don't want to break up your lumps in your crab meat too much. And again, when I get done forming these, I'll show you how we brought all of this together. So this is gonna make 3, and this is because I broke the ingredients up into 2 parts so that you could see how to make them and then how to form and bake them. So again, you can kind of see the formation. Okay, so we're gonna put these in the oven on 375, 12 to 14 minutes. And then while those are baking, we're gonna get the other ones prepared. Sorry guys. Okay, and right before they go into the oven, this is just a personal preference of my own. I do like to put a little bit of butter. So I kind of like brush the butter onto the top of them. And then after that, I like to put a little bit, just a little bit of smoked paprika on top, because that also complements the color when they bake in the oven. And that's the melted butter I'm using. So that's been sitting on the stove and letting it melt down. And I'm gonna sprinkle it with a little bit of smoked paprika. And this is personal preference. This is not, the paprika doesn't add any taste, it just really adds color. But the butter, of course, it does. It kind of gives it that buttery, savory taste to it. Okay, so these are going in the oven, 375, 12 to 14 minutes. So I'm gonna set my timer for that. Okay, so, like I told you earlier, I usually use 2 of these for the entire amount that I'm gonna be making, but I broke it up today. And this is lump crab meat. You always wanna get a lump crab meat, because if you don't, you run the risk of getting a crab meat that still has a lot of shells in it. So whoever you're making those for will end up having them kind of dig shells out of their food. But the lump crab meat, pretty much they've already deshelled it for you. I'm just gonna pour that into the bowl. Pour it right in. So I like to use just the yolk of the egg. So I'm not using the entire egg. I don't use the white, I just use the yolk. So we're gonna add that into the bowl. And we have, this is Old Bay and Cajun seasoning combined. So I'm gonna use some of that. I have Dijon mustard. I'm just gonna use a little bit of the Dijon mustard. Mayonnaise, hot sauce, Worcestershire sauce, a fresh squeezed lemon, well, the juice from a fresh squeezed lemon, and then of course my breadcrumbs. So I like to, for color purposes, I also add some fresh parsley. So we're gonna chop that up later and add that into it as well. So the egg yolk is already inside, and now we're gonna add a little bit of the hot sauce. And I say a little bit, but I kind of like it, you know, a little bit spicy. Just a little bit, just a little kick. And then we're gonna do our Worcestershire sauce. So, and again, I'll post all of the ingredients and most of the measurements on my blog for y'all. So now we're putting in the Dijon mustard. And this is about I think this is about a tablespoon. And then we're gonna do our mayonnaise. So in goes our lemon juice, and I'm just gonna squeeze the juice from half of a lemon. Again, I usually use 2 of the containers of the lump crab meat. So typically I'll probably use the whole lemon. I just don't want any of the seeds to fall into that. So now we're gonna add our Old Bay and our Cajun seasoning. This is also preferential. Your seasonings, whatever you prefer. But the Old Bay, of course, for seafood always brings out the flavor. And so now we're gonna add our breadcrumbs. And just before we get to mixing the mixture together, we're gonna add a few fresh parsley flakes to this. And I just pulled this out of my garden. But you know, as you know, you can just buy this in the store. I don't prefer dried parsley, but I'm not opposed to it. But in mine, I like fresh. So with this, you don't want to handle it too much, because the lumps will kind of fall apart. So you just kind of want to get them mixed in, get all the flavors mixed in, all the ingredients. And just kind of look at it and see if it looks like the texture that you're trying to get. And if not, that's when you determine what else you want to add to it. And with this, I definitely want to add some more breadcrumbs and some more mayonnaise. And I might add a little bit more Worcestershire sauce too. And you just kind of folding it over, because like I say, you don't want to handle it too much because you'll break up the lumps that are in your crab meat. So typically once you mix this together, there's been times I've refrigerated it for 2 hours, and there's been times I refrigerated it overnight. So as long as you let it sit for a little while, you will get a better result out of it. However, because it is well seasoned and all of these ingredients just kind of go together, if you bake it immediately, it's not going to be a deal breaker. However, you'll get a better result if you let it sit in the refrigerator overnight or sit in the refrigerator for 1 to 2 hours before you bake it. I'm gonna add just a little bit more of this parsley for color. So we got about 5 to 6 more minutes on the ones that are in the oven, and then they should be coming out soon. So I'm gonna cover this one and go ahead and refrigerate it. Bake those for maybe dinner tonight or dinner tomorrow. We'll see. Yep, these go in the refrigerator. Just pop them in. So we're gonna go ahead and get this cleaned up and get ready to get our crab cakes out. So the funny thing about crab cakes is you can bake them or you can fry them. However, it's totally preference. I prefer a baked crab cake because it's not so dry. It's not dried out. The ingredients are kept a little bit better in the form of baking it. And typically, when you have a fried crab cake, you're gonna want like some sort of a sauce, like a aioli or some sort of a cream sauce. And that's because the texture is a little bit more drier than a baked crab cake. So hopefully you guys can go online to the blog, get the recipe, the ingredients, the measurements, and make your crab cakes and let me know how they turn out. And again, the Tabasco that I used in my crab cake, that's totally optional. I like mine to have a little bit of heat. Give me 1 second, I want to grab a plate. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Got a few more minutes left on it. Put it on 12 minutes, and typically that's the magic number, but you know, give or take 2 or 3 minutes. Okay guys, let's just check them out and see if they're ready. I added them an additional 3 minutes. So they are good and they have a golden brown color to them. I'm gonna let you guys see them first. See, all done. So I'm just gonna test one out. Ooh, looks so good. Okay, so we're gonna try it out. This is the crab cake. This is what the lump crab cake. This is what it eventually looks like. And Lord bless this food. I know it's gonna nourish my soul. It's so hot. You can see the smoke coming off of it. Yep. That's it. That's that crab cake. So guys, I hope y'all try this recipe. It's real simple, as you saw, real quick. Hot. www.shecookedit.com. On Instagram, She Cooked It. Facebook, Twitter, She Cooked It. I hope you enjoy this recipe. Until next time, y'all stay hungry. Bye.